Hi everybody, welcome to Dunbar Academy Quick Tips. I'm Jamie Dunbar, and today's quick tip is about how to deal with your dog's problem behaviors. Before we get started, please make sure you're subscribed so you never miss one of our videos. And as always, if you'd like to learn more about this topic, head to dunbaracademy.com and check out our online dog training courses, many of which are completely free. Okay, back to today's tip. Dogs are dogs. That shouldn't be news to anyone, but sometimes people seem to forget this basic fact. A lot of people get upset because their dog barks, or their dog chews, or their dog jumps up, digs in the garden, or chases squirrels. But these are normal and natural doggy behaviors. I mean, a dog that barks? You gotta be kidding, right? Of course, just because they are normal and natural behaviors doesn't mean your dog should have the freedom to do them whenever and however they please. No. Instead, it's up to you to teach your dog how to behave in a manner that is appropriate and acceptable. For example, when to bark, what to chew, and when and where to act like a revved up goofball. The best way to do this is by putting the problem behavior on cue. I know this can seem counterintuitive, but if your dog is barking too much, the best thing you can do is teach your dog to bark on cue. The same goes for hyperactivity, digging, chewing, jumping up, running away, and more. By putting the bad behavior on cue, it means you can practice getting your dog to stop on cue as well. And you can do so at a time that is convenient for you, instead of trying to control your dog when you're distracted and your dog has lost their mind because, I don't know, there are visitors at the door. You see, successful dog training takes repetitions. You have to practice if you want your dog to reliably do something when you ask them to. So if you would like your dog to stop barking when you ask, you have to practice having them stop. But your dog can only stop barking if they are already barking. If your dog is barking and then you somehow get them to stop, and then you stop training and you go on with your day, you won't make any progress. So, how do you practice having your dog stop barking several times in a row? Well, you have to be able to get them started again, which means you have to put barking on cue. Once you've done that, you can alternate back and forth between asking your dog to misbehave and asking them to stop. And you can do this even when your dog doesn't have any real motivation to misbehave, so getting them to stop is easy. This lets you reward and reinforce the sensation or the stopping of the behavior so that you have a better chance of getting your dog to stop on cue when your dog actually has a reason to misbehave and when you're distracted. But if your dog loves to bark, prohibiting it entirely would just be cruel. Instead, teach your dog when and where to bark. Try to think of a time and a place where your dog can bark without being too disruptive, and then encourage them to let rip. Then be quiet. Then bark again. Make the barking into a game that you play with your dog as a reward for good behavior. You can do the same thing for hyperactivity, or tag, or jumping up. Dogs love it when they get encouragement to actually act like a dog, barking up a storm or running around like a jazzed up loon. Once you have that kind of control, you can teach your dog to perform these behaviors in specific circumstances, so that now they're actually helpful. I remember when my dad had a multi-dog security system set up. One dog would bark when delivery people arrived, a different dog would bark for friends visiting, and a third dog would only bark if a stranger was coming to the door. It was really useful. And the only reason it was possible was because first, he taught each dog to bark on cue and to shush on cue. So, how do you put a problem behavior on cue? Well, the same way you put any behavior on cue. First, give the cue. Second, lure the desired behavior. Third, the dog performs the behavior. And fourth, reward the dog. As always, the tricky part is the lure. How do you lure the dog to perform the behavior you're trying to capture? Well, clearly there are some situations where your dog is likely to perform this problem behavior. Otherwise, it wouldn't be much of a problem, right? So, reproduce one of those situations. If your dog barks or jumps up when visitors come over, you'll need to enlist some friends to come over to practice entering, leaving, and so on a bunch of times in a row. If you want your dog to chew, present them with a chew toy stuffed with food. If you want them to dig, present them with a bone partially buried in the dirt. Some dogs will bark along with you if you bark and howl. Others will get spooked and look at you like you've lost your mind. In general, you shouldn't be surprised if Murphy's Law of dog training kicks in. Anytime you want your dog to misbehave, that is when they are least likely to misbehave. But keep at it and you'll get there eventually. If you can reliably lure your dog to perform a behavior, you can also train them to perform that behavior on cue. And once your dog can perform a behavior on cue, you can now teach them to stop that behavior on cue. So, let's review. 1. Put problem behaviors on cue. This allows you to 2. Practice stopping and starting and stopping and starting the problematic behaviors over and over again. 3. Teach your dog the appropriate time and place for these behaviors. Barking and hyperactivity make for marvelous rewards if your dog stops when you ask them to. And 4. Teach your dog to perform these behaviors at times that are fun or useful. Thanks for watching Dunbar Academy Quick Tips. I'm Jamie Dunbar, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to learn more, make sure to visit dunbaracademy.com and check out our selection of free dog training and behavior courses. If you'd like to watch more Dunbar Academy YouTube videos, click here or here. And if you want to watch new videos as we post them, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for notification.